Hello and welcome to BizFirst Review 360, where we bring you a roundup of this week's business stories and developments that impact the economy. I'm Stephanie Lazarus. On our top story tonight, we take a look at paperless trade, something that local businesses have been pushing the government to implement for years. What's behind the delay and why should it concern you?
A study by Verite Research, an independent think tank, has found that delays in accepting electronic signatures by government agencies has prevented the use of e-commerce in Sri Lanka. Local businesses have been lobbying for the use of electronic documentation for 20 years, but bureaucracy in the public sector has prevented progress.
So people are setting up platforms for accepting documents electronically. But the benefit of that is lost if you have to print out that document and sign it and take it. So we all like using email, but every time you send an email, if you also have to print that email, put it in a letter, put a stamp and post it before the other person agrees that they've received it, then it's just double process and you're wasting time. So we have a similar redundancy. Because they don't accept the electronic signature, even though the document is submitted electronically, it doesn't have the same validity as a paper document. So it's partially a lack of awareness in the government sector. Many people did not know when we talked to them that the necessary law had been passed. So I think the media has a role to play, because just by knowing that the law has been passed, just by knowing that the power to accept electronic signature is already with government agencies, and just by knowing that the Electronic Signatures Act supersedes all other laws in terms of signing a document. So if I'm in the Agriculture Department and I only look at the Agrarian Act, I may say we need physically document signed. But actually this act says no, in terms of signing documents, the Electronic Documents Act supersedes everything else, so you can accept it. So part of it is really awareness.
Verite Research says faster processing of trade documentation is vital for an economy like Sri Lanka, which is aspiring to become the maritime and logistics hub of the Indian Ocean. A lack of paperless trade has pushed labour costs up and made Sri Lankan exports uncompetitive in the global market.
This is something very important. Unfortunately, as a country, as a government, we have somehow failed to act upon something that is very critical for to enhance the competitiveness of the production, manufacturing, logistics and trade in this country. What we really want to say is one thing about paperless trade. The idea of paperless trade, actually doing trade without having to manually take hard copies and hand sign and take to so many different agencies, has a long history. It has been discussed 2-3 decades ago, and it is a universally agreed concept that paperless trade actually will save immense amount of time and immense amount of money. And it is a big booster of competitiveness of countries, especially international competitiveness, which is critical for success of countries. So it will enhance manufacturing competitiveness, trade and logistics competitiveness.
Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe made a special statement in Parliament about the budget proposals for 2017. Let's take a look.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe told Parliament this week that a trade adjustment facility will be provided, including capital allowances, to help domestic firms become competitive in export markets. Among other things, the Prime Minister also said that barriers to business will be eased to attract investors. We spoke to an economist for perspective on Prime Minister's policy statement.
The Prime Minister's economic policy statement certainly touches on some useful areas like the digital economy, commercial agriculture, more trade and investment focus. And he also talks about trade adjustment package, which is something the Chamber has been already working on to get our businesses ready for trade liberalization. However, what we haven't seen is a lot of specifics and details on the plan. And what we need now is to make sure that the forthcoming budget nicely aligns with this policy statement, but is also quickly followed up by some concrete action plans.
Ending months of uncertainty, Parliament approves the VAT hike.
Lawmakers Wednesday approved the controversial VAT or VAT amendment bill with 112 members voting for and 46 against. 65 members were absent. The amended bill, which increases taxes from 11 to 15%, will come into effect from the 1st of November 2016. Earlier in the week, the Supreme Court cleared the latest draft, saying it is in line with the Constitution. The controversial VAT bill was halted by the Supreme Court in July this year over irregular introduction methods to Parliament. A communique from the Ministry of Finance said that VAT had been imposed on cigarettes, liquor, telephone services, electrical equipment, perfumes, jewellery and powdered milk. VAT will also be imposed on consultation fees of doctors and medical specialists, including channel services and hospital room charges. According to the new amendment, the existing 2% nation building tax will remain unchanged. However, the turnover limit to charge the nation building tax has been changed from 3.75 million rupees per quarter to 3 million rupees.
Coming up next, it's good news for the tourism industry. Welcome back. You are watching BizFirst Review 360. With the goal of making the tourism industry the #1 foreign exchange earner by the year 2020, the government has allocated 800 million rupees to promote Sri Lanka overseas.
Addressing the annual general meeting of the Hotels Association of Sri Lanka, Tourism Development Minister John Amaratunga said the government is setting up a cabinet subcommittee to fast-track approvals needed for the booming tourism industry.
You hoteliers are the backbone of Sri Lankan economy. We consider you as the most important people who contribute to the Sri Lankan economy. It's a growing industry, as was mentioned by your president. It's now at the 3rd place of foreign exchange earnings, but our target is to be #1 by the year 2020. Now, from the day I took office, I have been pushing to get this program off the ground, mainly the destination marketing program. The chairman also mentioned he's trying very hard. As you know, there are umpteen number of regulations in this country. Call them the ARs, FRs, whatnot. The government is determined to have a very strong cabinet subcommittee that will give expeditious decisions on matters that are arising in the hotel industry, particularly approvals.
Speaking of minimum room rates in Colombo City hotels, Minister Amaratunga said current rates will be continued following consultations with the Finance Ministry. Earlier, a decision was made to abolish the minimum rates by the end of March 2017.
The minimum rate should be established by the end of March next year. However, after regular consultations and listening to the views of the hoteliers, I find that it is too quick to arrive at such a decision in March. It has to be reconsidered and see what further length of time should be given in order to establish yourself in the industry which is going to bring a lot of revenue to this country. I believe it would be in the best interest of the industry to allow market forces to determine the rates in not too distant future. Leave that to the future.
The industry contributes nearly 3.5% of the country's GDP. The industry is aiming to increase its contribution to 5% of the total GDP in the next 5 years.
On vital statistics, we turn the spotlight of the performance of the external sector: exports, imports, remittances and foreign reserves.
According to central bank data, Sri Lanka's seafood exports to the European Union has picked up 19.9% in July 2016 following the lifting of the seafood ban to the EU. The apparel sector, that is awaiting the GSP Plus concessions, saw exports increasing 3%. Tea exports that have taken a hit due to low demand fell 14.8% to $108 million. Workers' remittances were down 4.4% to $572.8 million, but tourism receipts rose 19.1% to $347 million.
Now look at other stories that made headlines this week.
Despite progress made in the ease of starting a business and protecting minority investors, Sri Lanka remains one of the toughest places to do business. In the World Bank's latest Doing Business report, which ranks 190 countries on how easy it is for private companies to follow regulations in 11 areas, Sri Lanka ranks at 110th position for 2017. This is a decline from Sri Lanka's previous rank of 109 in 2016. New Zealand tops the latest index, with Singapore ranking second and Denmark third. 5 economies in South Asia implemented a total of 11 reforms, making it easier to do business during the past 5 years. The World Bank says that Sri Lanka implemented the highest number of doing business reforms in the region, with 12 reforms in total, followed by India with 10. Improvements in Sri Lanka, while important, were not enough to stop a decline in the country's overall rank from 109 in 2016 to 110 in 2017. According to the World Bank, Sri Lanka's dip in the index reflects greater reforms conducted by peer economies such as India and Pakistan during the same period.
On the other side of this break, we've got sentiments from the Philippines Business Council breakfast meeting. Welcome back. You are watching BizFirst Review 360. Today on Speak Your Mind, we bring you highlights of the Philippines Business Council breakfast meeting.
The founding governor of the central bank, John Exter, said that integrity of the central bank governors are quite important. And then you say right now that there were issues over the last few years as far as the central bank is concerned. There are many individuals here representing the private sector in Sri Lanka as well as the international community. What sort of faith can they have on the central bank with the new governor? Can they really have faith?
Yeah, obviously, any governor's performance should be measured by the outcome of the overall economic objectives, whether they are meeting the objectives. And secondly, the integrity and reputation of governance obviously is important. I'm not saying any governor had a bad reputation or anything. The issue is that if any central bank, not only the governor, any central banker, if there is the reputational issue, that obviously affects. This central bank is all about the confidence of the general public, the private sector, about the central bankers. So, if there are issues, allegations, I would say, and that should be addressed immediately to make sure central bankers' integrity and the commitment to deliver is very important. I give you one example. The Reserve Bank of India, when the Governor Raghuram Rajan was appointed as a governor some years back at the RBI, before that India was facing kind of a crisis. And market did not have a lot of confidence on the ability for the RBI to go through this face the global kind of table random US interest rate issue, all this issue. A lot of people were withdrawing money out of the country. Then government appointed the Dr. Raghuram Rajan. Is a well-reputed, is one of the best economists in the world, best central bankers in the world. So since his appointment itself settled the markets. So with that, he obviously brought a lot of reforms, and also his reputation mattered a lot. And I can say that, this is one example that I quote from our neighboring country.
This government comes and gives another policy, other governments give us the other policy. The private sector in disarray. They don't know which way to go. This will not only affect the private sector company itself, it affects the planning of the government. Look at the power crisis. Today, this power crisis would have been averted. All the PPAs that was established was disbanded. What happened? Today we are in this calamity. They are looking at the sky and waiting. So there must be a coherent policy, like in Singapore, like any other country, or even India. The system goes. Government may change, politicians may come, politicians may go, but the system has to go. So fair play has to be established. These crooks and komiskakas of that government comes and joins this government. So the same old systems are being carried on another government. So this carnival has to go and stop. This is the problem they're facing with the private sector. I myself have to get nearly 700-800 million rupees as compensation for the last 10 years. Some companies 500-600 million. Only a piece of paper. So where is the confidence to have the private sector to go on and encourage the workers or establish industries or to give employment? You must have some policy. It is true the private sector today, even as it is now, is performing a Herculean magnificent task. Tell me all the corporations, how many are in the red? How many banks have gone and funded these places? Why? Political interference. They put their political stooges, and what happens? They don't care for the bank, they don't care for the investors. They go and do things only for the job. We can't get them, we have no hotels. Infrastructure not in place. Shortage of power. Hotels are built, we are running generators. So if the private sector has been given a task, they are 100% sure the leaders of this room here will definitely take challenges. But give them opportunity and give them to run. Yes. These are all fly-by-night people who are coming here. Tell me a couple of companies that has to be here. The investment proposals that came. I know one incident where the Qatari Emir came personally. He wanted to develop Kalbit here. 10 years have gone. What has happened? It's an non-start. Today, Saudis have gone to Malay Island, paid $10 billion and bought a piece of land in the sea. And it's a big threat to all of us.
I appreciate Mr. Jawardana's experience and in saying so may obviously be having something. But I'm sure he is looking at the dead past rather than the existing future that we are taking the country into. I would like him to be more precise by saying where the inconsistencies are. When you inherit the economy, I don't think you can rectify all errors that have been inherited through also carrying forward to us in a day. But we are certainly trying to dismantle all. So I would appreciate, before I answer the next question, Mr. Jawardana's rich experience can certainly help us to avoid those inconsistencies that are there.
For sure.
I'm sure you must be referring to the banking area.
What I'm going to do is...
But what a mess it was putting in the last 11 years, which he is a victim of. Now we are trying to get those rectified. Those are the problems. So if he is thinking of the inconsistencies that have happened in the past and trying to embed that into the present system, give us a little time. Inconsistency is the voters. If we had this system going from 77 to 94, we would have been beyond Singapore today.
So I'm going to give the mic to Mr. Jawardana to respond. Are you satisfied with the answer given by the Minister of Finance?
Of course, Minister has inherited a legacy that was not cured. It was going from bad to worse. You borrow, and no repayment. Who is paying? And he is asking the masses, tighten your belt, putting up this, putting up that. He is doing a very difficult job. We have to appreciate what he has done. When I mentioned, sir, the inconsistency, look at the power sector. Why are we today in that mess? Why? You have one system, one government, other one they cancel, all the power plants are exported. Today you have no power. Is it not inconsistent? Look at the trade policy. We have 15 or 20,000 items with Pakistan and India. How much is it taking place? Who is taking this bottleneck? Look at the tea market, sir. The policy that you all carried, the early UNP government carried, they reverse. Today, Syria 40,000 tons. Syria 20,000 tons. Iraq 40,000 tons. Egypt 40,000 tons. Saudi Arabia, pittance. You have Orthodox tea taken nearly 200,000 tons. So how are you paying the labor? See, the labor is at your neck. Labor is demanding more money. What can they do with 500, 600 rupees salary? This is what I say, Your Excellency, Mr. Minister, the inconsistency. They must have a coherent trade policy. Your partners, you have gone and signed very good trade agreements. Why is it not implemented? Why is it being stuck in somewhere? Why is that people don't ask the trade? You must summon the trade. Now you have already started for the budget asking people's advice, all these kind of things, which we have done. Look at the taxes you have collected from alcohol, of what I told you. It can be further improved. So there are good things. Money is here, money is not collected. Today, look at the under-invoicing in customs. Meat is imported at 250. Can you buy dog meat even from the butcher at 250? Can you buy? Meat, fish is imported at 80 cents. Can you buy fish at 80 cents? So these are the if you have a clear-cut policy, sir, you have all the big departments under the system, the custom, the excise. These are money-making concerns. People can benefit from these things. Only a few handful of people.
Well, that's all the news we've got for you tonight. Remember, you can look us up on Facebook by typing Newsfirst Review 360. Have a wonderful weekend. Join us again next week at the same time.